I'm not deliberate about
nobody
this.
will believe you.
If I'm not,
your energy this morning, nobody will.
I'm telling you that I'm so tired. If I'm not deliberate with it, you guys you'll be sleepy the whole time.
I remember
so I have
yesterday.
to consistently tell myself, hey,
yesterday,
ginger up.
Everybody is.
I'm telling you, Charlie, we are tired.
Yesterday,
Imagine this had gone into a second round. Like, we just faint for this place.
The second round would have taken me the 28th or 20.
Is it?
28, I think 3 weeks after the main election. So that would take us to somewhere 28th of December.
Yeah.
I would have been yesterday. I was sitting at the Supreme Court and I was dozing off.
Oh, are we all not tired?
It's
so easy. What did I weak?
Yeah. It is what it is. We do understand that as an election year, definitely we are going to stay nights on the field, and so it was. And so it wasn't surprising at all, but of course, when duty calls, you have to always be available. I was roaming some constituencies, and for those who know me, they see me, what are you doing here? This is not the court. I say, yeah, we are doing the court here at the constituency and all that. So it was what it is. All of us are tired, but of course, our listeners will have to be served. So we have to make sure that we are served.
All right. Yesterday, court was live in action.
Yes, not yesterday. As for the court, immediately after the elections.
They said no rest for the no rest. The saying is no rest for the wicked. Yes, but
it's true. So they are working. So all those who are having dispute, who are disagreeing.
Yeah, of course, crime does not wait still.
Absolutely, especially the parliamentary elections. Those who disagree with the declared results, the courts are open. That's the next level that you can take and all that. No violence, nothing. You should go to court and go and challenge that. Get all your evidence, your arsenal, and go to the court. The courts are open, the registries are available and all that. We'll be there to report. We had one of the areas that the candidate has threatened to go to court is the one that, is it Ablikuma?
Ablikuma, no, there's Okaikwe Central too.
Yes, one of them. Yeah, one of them. So we are waiting. The courts are open. But yesterday, the Supreme Court sat, and they've been sitting since Tuesday. And one of the cases that came before the court has to do with Oliver Barker-Vormawor. Or you notice that there's a case that he's facing at the High Court, treason felony, 2 counts of treason felony. That case trial is yet to start.
Okay.
The matter started in 2022 February till now. The trial has not started yet. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down. For those who remember, if you are following this show keenly, you will note that on May 27, we told you that lawyers of Oliver Barker were at the High Court and they were asking the court to refer certain provisions, certain questions to the Supreme Court for interpretation because they felt the understanding of the defense lawyers and the understanding of the prosecution, there's clearly a rival meaning.
Okay.
They understand it different from what prosecution also understand. So when it happens like that, then the matter has to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Justice Mary Mami Ikwe-Yenzo looked at this head argument and said, look, I have listened to you, have looked at the provision you have mentioned, there's nothing to interpret. So that request was refused. And so the lawyer since filed an application that the Supreme Court with an application for certiorari seeking the Supreme Court to quash that ruling of Justice Mary Yenzu on May 27. So yesterday, the parties appeared in court. Lawyers of Oliver Barker-Vormawor were led by Dr. Justice Shremsai. They were present in court. But the AG's office, they didn't come. They were absent. They also did not file any affidavit in opposition to that particular request. So a 5-member panel presided over by Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu heard argument from or submission from lawyers of Oliver Barker-Vormawor. At the end, the court is of the considered view that 4-1 majority decision, the High Court judge was right not to refer that particular matter to the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court agrees with the High Court judge. And so 4-1. So Oliver Barker yesterday, that request was dismissed by 4-1 majorities. And he's been speaking, he's been reacting to that particular decision that the Supreme Court spoke about yesterday. They said, no, you come to court in the morning in relation to the same case depending on the party that you are involved with, you get one decision, the same case in a different party, and you get a different decision. Let's hear what he has to say.
I think that one of the biggest challenges we've continuously had in this line of cases, particularly that involve me, is that we are constantly seeing how a great deal of artificial reasoning and sophistry is applied anytime a matter involving me comes up. Not too long ago, the Supreme Court held that the Speaker of Parliament, who was under no constitutional obligation to refer a matter that comes before it to the Supreme Court, decided that when an issue arises before Parliament, which involves to say impartiality, that maybe the correct way of the law would prevail once and for all. But I think the bigger question, the rule of law in this country, is the way in which the Supreme continues to flip-flop. Whether it is based on the dislike of individuals, whether it is for partisan reasons, nobody knows at this point. So that today you can come in the Supreme Court in the morning and get a different reasoning if you are in the matter with different parties. And in the afternoon you can appear before the Supreme Court and be given a completely opposite reason. This is the challenge to the rule of law in this country. Now, well, the people of Ghana have spoken that they want a new dispensation in this country. Hopefully, as we have said, that even though the people of Ghana have given to the NDC the landslide victory, that landslide will be meaningless unless the judiciary is sanitized. Today we have seen an example of it again. And it's my prayer and hope that this judiciary is cleaned up, else this republic is not going anywhere.
So that is Oliver back at former. He is calling for a cleanup in the judiciary. What does that really mean?
Well, we'd live to see.
He said the judiciary should be sanitized, and the majority that the NDC are, if they don't do that, then it will be meaningless. We'll live to see what would come of that case. So yesterday, that case, 4-1 majority dismissed, and the reason of Justice Yoni Kolendi, we are told, be ready by Monday. So that case, they have to go back to the High Court for the trial to continue from there. But there's also another case that came before the Supreme Court yesterday, from the editor-in-chief of the the Daily Searchlight, Ken Eje Kuranchi. You noticed that sometime earlier this year, he sued the OSP, Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Attorney General. And one thing that he was contesting was the law that gave birth.
Said it was unconstitutional. The office was unconstitutional.
So he went to the Supreme Court, issued a writ, filed a writ, and then 9 months later, he went to the Supreme Court to withdraw that particular action after he failed to file a statement of case, to which would rather give more clarity to why he's come to the court. So he withdrew that particular action, and it was struck out. And guess what? When the 7-member panel was striking out the case, they blocked him. They said that no, you have no liberty to come back to court with that case. So it means most often than not, when cases are withdrawn, most often than not, you have your liberty to go back when you think that you have to go back. Maybe people withdraw because they felt there were certain things they needed to add, or they have some new development and they feel that they want to take out the case, start all over again. But this time the court said without liberty to reapply. He thinks that amounts to his fundamental human right. So he went seeking a review. And yesterday, a review panel of 9 justices of the Supreme Court sat, presided over by the Chief Justice, and they said, look, no exceptional circumstances has been advanced, for which reason the threshold has not been met. But Ken has been speaking, and he spoke about how his rights have been infringed upon by that directive from the Supreme Court. In your submission, you admit that you filed your writ without statement of case. 9 months later, you withdrew that, and that clearly amounts to abuse of office, which you disagree with.
Every lawyer in that room must have been laughing sick, because it happens all the time. Writs are filed, people fail to file statement of claim, they fail to file the necessary affidavit, they fail to file the necessary statements of case or statement of claim or whatever. But then they come back, they withdraw, because lawyers, it's a matter of trade practice. So for the Supreme Court to say that you filed a writ and that you failed to attach a statement of case, and that therefore means abuse, it's a very strange development. But as I said, I want to wait to see them put those words in a written form, and then I'll take whatever action is necessary to make sure this matter is not over yet.
What exactly were you seeking the OSP for?
What I'm seeking from the OSP is that law should be made constitutionally amenable.
Which law?
The Office of Special Prosecutor Act 959 should be made constitutionally amenable. If you listen, you were in there, you heard the representative from the Office of Special Prosecutor introduce herself as Assistant Special Prosecutor or whatever, or Deputy Prosecutor. I'm saying that in Ghana,
she said she's a principal state prosecutor.
In Ghana,
you have come to the Supreme Court yet again, and a panel of 9 is effectively refusing your case that you have put before the court for a review. What exactly were you seeking from the court?
Well, my points were two: that every institution in this country, any institution that comes under a law passed by Parliament is susceptible to judicial process. I'm saying that on the 17th of July, our Supreme Court said that I cannot reapply in a case concerning the Office of Special Prosecutor. I'm saying that if the Supreme Court says that it is unconstitutional, so my business here this morning was to say that the Office of Special Prosecutor is susceptible to judicial process. The second leg of that argument is that if they refuse me an application, the right to sue the Office of Special Prosecutor, then they are abusing my fundamental human rights as a Ghanaian. And I came under Article 2.1 and I came under Article 17. That like all Ghanaians, the equality principle, every Ghanaian must be treated equally. So if every Ghanaian is able to access the court, then I too must be able to access the court. Unfortunately, their lordships disagreed. They've said that they will give out a ruling, I think by 28th of December this year. When they give out the ruling, I'll come for a copy. Then I will react appropriately. But this matter will not be left lying down.
So that is Ken Ejekranchi. For the second time, the Supreme Court has bounced him. Said, go, don't come back again, because this case, you can come back with a different matter, but not in respect of the OSP's case, because you have abused the process and will not allow you to come back again. He thinks that, but that directive, its fundamental human rights, has been abused. But he said he will take the next step. So once that step is taken, we'll bring you up to speed, whatever he will be saying in relation to that. But let's hear him and the other leg of whether he really was abusing the court. In your submission, you admit that you filed your rates without statement of case. 9 months later, you withdrew that. And that clearly amounts to abuse of office, which you disagree.
Every lawyer in that room must have been laughing sick, because it happens all the time. Rates are filed, people fail to file statement of claim, they fail to file the necessary affidavit, they fail to file the necessary statements of case or statements of claim or whatever. But then they come back, they withdraw, because lawyers, it's a matter of trade practice. So for the Supreme Court to say that you filed a writ and that you failed to attach a statement of case, and that therefore means abuse, it's a very strange development. But as I said, I want to wait to see them put those words in a written form, and then I'll take whatever action is necessary to make sure this matter is not over yet.
What exactly were you seeking the OSP for?
What I'm seeking from the OSP is that law should be made constitutionally amenable.
Which law?
The Office of Special Prosecutor Act 959 should be made constitutionally amenable. If you listen, you were in there, you heard the representative from the Office of Special Prosecutor introduce herself as Assistant Special Prosecutor or whatever, or Deputy Prosecutor. I'm saying that in Ghana,
she said she's a principal state prosecutor.
In Ghana, prosecutorial powers flow only from the Attorney General. And it is not a power of Parliament to take that prosecutorial power and give it to another body. If you want to take that power and articulate it, you must amend the 1990 Constitution, which has not been done. So that is why I'm important. The law must be made conformable to the 1990 Constitution. So that is all that is important.
Thank you. So that is Ken Ejekranchi. Yesterday, the Supreme Court says, yes, nothing exceptional. You haven't met the threshold. So it is what it is. 9-0 against Ken Kranchi. So he can't go back again in relation to that particular case that he filed at the Supreme Court. So these are the two major cases. And now the Ghana Bar Association has been speaking in relation to the outcome of the 2024 general elections and all that has been happening or that happened and is happening. And what they say is the point that, first of all, they are congratulating all Ghanaians, the Electoral Commission, the parties involved for the peaceful elections. However, there are some few incidences that are happening, and they want to draw attention to those incidents. So let me just give you some excerpts of the statement that they issued yesterday in relation to what has happened in the election. Said, the GBA applauds all citizens who dutifully exercise their franchise. The GBA applauds and appreciates your exceptional enthusiasm and commitment to shaping the future of our beloved country. The GBA extends its profound congratulations to all candidates who participated in the just ended presidential and parliamentary elections, especially to His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who preferred a timeous concession. The GBA also expresses its heartfelt congratulations to the President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, on his victory. Indeed, the good people of Ghana have overwhelmingly spoken in his favor. The GBA is also hopeful that the President-elect will continue to champion the growth of the democratic tenets the people of Ghana so cherish. It went on to say, the GBA unreservedly condemns reports of pockets of violent attacks, including gunshots, which resulted in the unwarranted death of some people, and extend its condolences to the bereaved families. And then he went on, looking into the concluding part, the GBA has been urging for some measures to be taken. The GBA urges all Ghanaians to maintain and guard jealously the unity, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence that have been the hallmark of the good people of Ghana, even as we express our differing views and opinion. The GBA makes a passionate appeal for an immediate end to all forms of lawlessness, including allegations of the destructions of properties and attempts at taking over offices. The GBA calls upon security and law enforcement agencies to handle with dispatch all cases of infringement brought to their attention. May Ghana continue to be the bastion of democracy within Africa and beyond, and may our nation become greater and stronger. And guess who signed this statement? The president of the Ghana Bar Association, the national president, I must say, Mrs. Ifwagati, and then it was co-signed by Kweku Jeu Bafo, the national secretary of Ghana Bar Association. So the GBA has also been making its voice heard, urging all those who are on the streets perpetrating unlawful acts to desist from that. Security agencies have also been urged to be up and doing for peaceful transition and all that. So that's what the GBA has been saying. And to conclude it with all that is happening today, Salif Amako's son, the 16-year-old boy involved in that East Legon incident, is back in court. And of course, remember the farmer who sued the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General about this LGBTQ matter and all that. It was the first case that was televised live at the High Court. And it's coming up today before the High Court presided over by Justice Ellen Sewa Miriku. And so it's one of the cases that we'll also be keeping our eyes on today.
All right. Thank you very much. Mutala Inusa is our legal affairs correspondent, telling us all that happened in court yesterday and what we should expect today. Let's go back onto the telephone line and speak to Dr. Asante. Yesterday, the Joint Transition Team was inaugurated. The President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo was there, as well as the President-elect John Dramani Mahama. They have all committed to collaborating for an effective and smooth transition process. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning Star.
Good morning, Antina.
Now, Yesterday we had the joint transition team being inaugurated, and we had both teams saying that, at least the president and the president-elect, saying that they are committed to collaboration for a smooth transition. First of all, what would you make of the addresses of the two, and then we get into the substance of the issue?
Oh, I think what they did was nothing but what it ought to be, because that's what the law says. So they couldn't have done anything different from this. But I commend them, especially the president, the way he has started the process very fast. And the build-up starts from the vice president with his early, the defeat that he considered early in the day. That has really paved the way for all these beautiful processes to follow. And the president is not wasting time to kickstart this constitutional aspect for us to get to the finish line. And I also like the push of Mahama, acknowledging the role that the president is playing in this regard, making sure that we get the best. And this is how we should govern the state and make sure that we build something that will stand the test of time for our people.
And what are your expectations of the committee?
I expect nothing but the best, and the best in the sense that whatever there is that we need to know must be made public, which I have no doubt in my mind that is going to be hidden away from them. The government will be forthright and in coming out with all information that they need. So we are going to experience full disclosure. We'll have full disclosure, and then at the end of the day, those on the government-elect side will also interrogate some of the issues and then get all the necessary information so that it will create that foundation that they need to be able to build on subsequently.
What would you consider to be the no-go areas, or to do and not to do lists?
Oh, there's nothing called no-go area when you are talking about governance. Governance is public business. So when you have been given the mandate to govern on behalf of the people, when a time comes for you to change over to another set of people who are going to assume the reins of government, what are you going to hide from them? No, there's nothing, and I'm not sure government has anything to hide from them, or government wants some places to be regarded as no-go area. I'm not sure the NDC will also have that other. What they are doing is that it's something the law requires. That 3 months into every election, you prepare your handing over notes. That event that you lose the election, you bring those data forward for those who are going to receive power, for them to guide their conduct and the focus and direction of the new government. So there is nothing that anybody can do contrary to what the law says.
Now, after yesterday's first meeting, the spokesperson for the president-elect John Dramani Mahama's side, Felix Kwachi Fusu, and now they have been raising some concerns in relation to some last-minute appointments and payments, which they say would have fiscal implications for the next government. Let me just quote an aspect of his interview where he says, for instance, that they have picked information, and indeed they have seen the documentation relating to efforts to pay over 240 million cedis to an entity that is supposed to have done some business with ECG. Now, if that was being paid to IPPs to keep the power on, one perhaps would not have an issue, but it is being paid to an entity whose work, in my view, is not as critical as the IPP. So at least this has come up as of now. Are we to expect more of these?
Oh, that is why they are there. They are there to ask questions. They are not, I'm sorry to say, they are not there as robots, just to accept and go away. No, questions. You ask questions and you get relevant responses. If you don't get, after the whole exercise, you probe further by, asking people to answer questions for the stewardship of their office. So it's a normal thing. And Kwachi Fusu is not wrong. I mean, he is also probing, because if you look at the energy problems, you and I are alive to the fact that there are bills that our government must settle the IPP. So if there are other considerations, we think that this should be of great importance. It's a priority payment that we need to do. So if we are doing something to the contrary, why can't I raise a finger? If I were him, I will ask the same question, and I even go further to ask more. Because all the things we are doing, nobody, people should disabuse their minds that the incoming government is out for, anything funny. No. It is in line with the spirit of and letter of the Constitution. If you read our Constitution, the preamble of it saying that we believe in a number of principles, including probity, accountability, and all the rest of them. This is one of them. And then if we are also, remember, we are signatory to the good governance agenda, part of which says that there should be transparency. And transparency means that whatever you do must be made public for people to assess what you are doing. And how do they assess that? Through information. And that is why we have strengthened that transparency aspect of what we are doing by giving a law saying that you can access public information. So here you are. You are in there to get public information and use for the running of the affairs of the state. Nothing wrong, I can say.
And another issue, of course, that has come up, and it keeps coming up during every transition, is the timing and recruitment, the timing of the recruitment of some individuals. And the concern is that the timing of the recruitment would have severe fiscal implications on the incoming government in relation to these issues. He says that they raised strong objections to these maneuvers and requested that they be put on hold. The government side agreed to this, and we will forcefully insist that this is a dangerous precedent, and that's also an aspect of the interview that Fides Kwachi Fosu did grant. But why is it that consistently, when we see that governments are ready to leave office, we see these last-minute recruitments, appointments here and there, and all that? Why does that continue to happen when either side complains all the time, but they still perpetuate it?
One is that we as a society, we have allowed politicians to have field day to misbehave, if I may put it that way, in certain areas of our governance life. This is a problem that keeps recurring. But anytime we are going through a process like this transition, then those problems will rear their ugly heads. Yes, we shove them under the carpet, get a transition to its finish line, and then continue with governance. We are in a hurry to go and govern, and then the next time power is changing hands, we are revisited with the same problem. Or sometimes they've taken the trouble to another level. We are not serious about some of these things, and that is why we continue to be abattoirs around us. What's even more is the fact that politicians sometimes deliberately do these things. The reason behind that, I don't know. Whether is to undermine the incoming government, and I'm speaking for the whole Fourth Republic, what I have seen so far, or to make life difficult for them and all that. I don't get it. But whatever it is, wrong is wrong. We must condemn and make sure that it should not just be condemnation, but we as a society must force it on political actors that this is what we want you to do. Remember, they are servants, they are not lords. So we should demand what we want, so that they address that for us. Remember, if you don't demand what you want in governance, you will always be shortchanged. So I expect that going forward, some of these lingering challenges will be addressed head on.
You know, just as the law stipulates that 3 months to the time, you must prepare your handing over note, so that should it happen that you have to hand over power, the handing over notes are ready to be handed over. Have we gotten to the point where we must equally include in there that in that 3 months that you're preparing your handing over notes, perhaps key recruitments into various institutions or others must equally be halted to allow for any future government, even if it is your government or even if the same party continuing or another party continuing, for them to make those decisions afterwards?
Now you have superior knowledge in law than what I have. I have nothing. But the little that I understand, the position of the law is that law is nothing but the will of the expression of the people. What we want it to be is what it's the law. It's a useful instrument that we use to regulate human conduct. So if that is what we want it to be, what prevents us from what? Putting it as a law, black and white, for people to see that henceforth, this is how things ought to be done. So any talk about it becomes an empty talk, because you lawyers will always tell us that law is nothing but what is expressed in black and white. And that is how it ought to be. Otherwise, it will be a talk shop, not what? A workshop.
Now let's move away from the transition and talk about, the post-election vandalism that we've recorded in some parts of the country. We've had the president-elect come out to urge the people to desist from it, and also called on the president as well as the security agencies to deal decisively with the matter. It seems as though things have largely minimized at the moment, but were you concerned that it went on for a while before some real action was taken to nip it to address the issue?
I am extremely concerned because, one, I am a Ghanaian, and democracy is the only game we have pledged to hold at all times. So any other thing will be an aberration to me. And even more is that when you look at observer group reports, they capture all the three phases of election: pre-election, election, and post-election phases. And I am very much in pain that we've gone through a beautiful pre-election election phase, but a post-election, there's something, a dent that we're going to experience in terms of the observer group report. And that sends a wrong signal to people out there that, after all, Ghana's democracy, all is not well and all that. We have crossed a lot of miles. So for this to be allowed to fester, it's a sorry story. But better late than never. We should put an end to this. All these things, I'll blame part of them. Place the blame at the doors of politicians, the political actors. Time and again, when power changes hands like this, we see this. And when those people are apprehended, politicians only come in to let them loose, set them free. So impunity is created, and they are emboldened to take the problem to another level. And that is what we are experiencing. We should be able, as a society, to punish individuals who go against the law, so that others will not benefit from that activity and say that, look, once my government wins power, I can do anything. No. Remember, the police is up there to protect the social contract which the state has with the people. And what is the terms of the contract? That protect me and my property, and I will obey you. So obedience to the state is a matter of compulsion. We have no choice about that. And the state is supposed to also protect us and our property. Our property is what they are destroying. And you ask yourself, is the police doing their work? The police have been slow or sluggish in a sense that they have bitter experience. Sometimes when they apprehend these people, at the end of the day, bigger powers also call them to order and all that. They want to be careful. I'm not a PRO for the police service, no. But I'm an observer in this country. I believe that if we want the law to work, let us embolden or empower the police to act. I cannot tell you, nobody can misbehave in this country. Let us strengthen the frontiers of the work of the police, and we will have what is required of them.
I remember that when these started, there was, during the address of the president-elect, he did acknowledge the situation and did ask the supporters not to engage in, criminal enterprise, but rather channel their energies into bettering the lot of the country. Subsequently, the vice president and flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, also put up a post on Facebook asking Mr. Mahama to call his supporters to order. Now, in many of the comments there, some people were drawing his attention that they were those in office, and in fact he's a chairman of the police council, and if anything at all, there should be action coming from the police and not a call to or a call on the president-elect to be calling supporters to order. What do you make of those who were making this argument?
Yeah, they are sound argument, because the vice president has a responsibility towards the police, and by that definition, he should be able to speak about how they conduct their affairs. We're calling on anybody who has just one power. Yes, the person who has just one power also has a responsibility, but the bigger responsibility rests on the existing government. Remember, this government has not finished its tenure, so it's still in charge. So why would the government breach the contract that we have signed with, that it will protect public property and life? The government is sitting down as if that this contract is then dead and gone. The government must act now, and of course the incoming government must also advise supporters to refrain from such acts of vandalism, which are nothing but criminal acts. And of course, when things of this nature happen, you realize that criminals will also join the bandwagon and misbehave. And I expect that we as a society must cooperate and support the police to root them out of our system. They are enemies of the open society.
Now let's talk about Parliament. The 9th Parliament is going to have the NDC enjoying, as of now, if the numbers are anything to go by, an absolute majority. Now, because of that, there are people who are, some people are concerned. Some say, well, it will depend totally on how the NDC uses it. Yesterday, we had a conversation with the aide to the former president, Joyce Bauer Mokhtari, and she says that they are going to use that for the people's good. For those who are worried about the numbers, do these people have a genuine cause of concern?
Why are we worried? You see, what you see in Parliament in terms of representation is the expression of the people's desire. So nobody should be. I'm not sure we have any power to tell MPs that voters that when you are voting, think about Parliament, the people you are putting there, so that you don't get absolute majority and all that. It's a function of so many things. Yes, it's a function of public anger about governance that was in office, for which reason they decided that enough of that nonsense, and that they want to replace the government with a government that they deem fit. And that is why we see the numbers that they have turned out and saying that you go to Parliament and go and be our representatives, and that it should be a learning curve for you, and that if in the future you also perform miserably in this way, you suffer the same fate. For me, there's nothing wrong with the way Ghanaians voted. That is how they want to express themselves. Nobody can legislate against that. What we have to do is that we have to also police Parliament so that they will do the needful, that they will not take us for a ride. Remember, whatever they do there has consequence on the society, and we, as ultimate beneficiaries of their actions and inactions, we also have power to also change their destinies in the next election. So I'm sure on that note, they will be careful and then be alive to the realities on the ground. Let us also consider that nobody in a democracy, every power that is given to you, there is a limitation to it. Otherwise, we'll go back to the state of nature, where life is nasty, brutish, and short, according to Hobbes, Locke, and the rest of them. So they are mindful of that, and that the power given to them is not to say that go and abuse it and use it in a reckless manner. If they do that, we have a way of also cutting them to size using the rules and regulations governing their business. So I'm not worried about it, because the democracy has within it inherent rules and regulations that are used to regulate the conduct of people. Remember, we are not dealing with autocracy or authoritarianism. We are dealing with the democracy. And the beautiful aspect of the democracy is that it's the government of the people. So the people have absolute control in various ways of dealing with the government. Look at this government. It's pusher and all that. And it will not listen to any wise counsel or any advice. At the end of the day, today I'm sure they are at home and then looking at what went wrong, and they themselves can attest to the fact that they got it all wrong. That is the power of the people, and that's the spirit behind any democratic enterprise. I'm not worried about it because time will tell, and the people will speak and speak louder to the ears of those who have ears to hear.
What does it say? How sophisticated have the Ghanaian voters become?
We grow by the day, every human being. Otherwise, development will elude us. We have experienced a lot. We have gone through a lot within even the short period of time. So all these things have been internalized, and the product is what is manifesting in our actions and inactions. And this election brings to sharp focus that you cannot take Ghanaians for a ride. It is just a matter of time. They will show you the door. And that should be a learning curve for all those who are interested in being part of the political game. That look, when the people speak, it's over. They will be quiet. It doesn't mean that they have no idea of the goings on in government. No. But they are just waiting for time because we have pledged and we have dedicated ourselves to this cause. The cause, this political path that we have chosen. We are saying that we want to guide it gingerly so that we maintain it and support it at all times. We are mindful of the fact that we live in an environment surrounded by countries that are destabilized through insurgency, through extreme violent activity and all that. We are mindful of that. So whenever we are not happy, we have a way of expressing them. But the last expression is when it comes to voting. Then we put in our all and show people that we own power. Power doesn't belong to any government. It belongs to us. So I am happy that Ghanaians have asserted themselves as the true owners of political power. And going forward, anybody who wants to cross us will think twice.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful that you were able to speak to us.
You're most welcome.
You had to speak to Dr. Asa Asante. He is the head of the Center for European Studies, as well as the senior lecturer at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. You're still listening to the Morning Star here on Star 103.5 FM. I'll go for a break. When I return, there's more up in store for you.